Now, I want to flip the script. We talked about sort of this major trend of open source being more and more regulated, but if you guys have been following what FINOS does, you see that one major area of development for us is how open source can help regulatory compliance. If you think about corporate collaborating on open source, it's generally about areas where there are common requirements, where it's non-competitive, and where there is an item on the bottom line that you can mutualize. And our vision a few years ago was that reg checks all those boxes. And so we've seen over the years both business-aligned regulation and sort of tech risk-aligned regulation come down, specifically for the industry. And we've seen tools organically being contributed and increasingly adopted for both sides of this coin. On the sort of business-aligned regulation, we have the CDM. You hear about it, the Common Domain Model. Those had a lot of adoption on the digital regulatory reporting side. We have data modeling tools. We have OS Climate, who is deeply looking at physical and climate risk. But as we start this morning, you'll hear a lot around tech risk and the projects like Common Cloud Controls and the AI governance framework that are really providing a novel way to implement tech risk controls in a collaborative way. And that's what we collectively refer to Open RegTech in FINOS. We have a landing page, several interest groups that you can sort of get started. So diving into sort of the tech risk and tech compliance side of the house, some of you might have seen this open letter posted by the CISO of JP Morgan a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month. If you haven't read it, take a look. It's really insightful. And it's really, the way I read it is really that the balancing between innovation, cloud, AI, it's all good and great, and it's sort of clearly getting adopted all over the industry, but balancing that with security and compliance is really hard, because vendors don't always do a good job on a point-by-point basis, especially when you have very complex vendor landscape, to comply with regulations when ultimately the banks are sort of in this sort of, let's call it a shared responsibility model. Some folks refer to that as such. But ultimately, the financial institutions are liable towards regulators. And so we think, sort of Madeleine talked about the different constituencies that we have in the foundation. We think that having these different constituencies, and we're seeing it in some of our projects, allows us effectively to sort of shift left, rather than banks working point-to-point with vendors in an N-by-N matrix, which becomes quickly sort of a combinatorial complexity, an unmanageable combinatorial complexity of controls. We bring them together to work in the open. And one of the areas, this is a slide from last year's State of Open Source in Financial Services report, where we asked what was preventing AI from being adopted. Unsurprisingly, the lack of suitable internal governance processes was by far the largest sort of pain points, and it's the one that I'm very excited to bring in Colin Eberhard on stage. He's the CTO of Scott Logic. He's the lead maintainer for the AI governance framework. He's a returning governing board representative for FINOS. Has been a major part of our community to give us an update about. Come, Colin.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thanks for the introduction. Really appreciate that.
Thank you for all you do for our community. I guess I'll stay on stage. We'll do a little banter here. Madeleine would have kicked me off, by the way.
You can stay.
So, thank you, Colin. Appreciate it. So tell us a little bit more about the AI governance framework. Why does it matter?
Yeah, I guess it's probably no great news to any of you in this room, but AI is shaping up to be one of the biggest technology transformations we've seen in a decade, possibly even our lifetimes. And unsurprisingly, there's a strong desire within the financial services industry to start adopting, using, and capitalizing on AI. However, there are a lot of factors that make this a significant challenge. There are new risks, threats, prompt injection, hallucinations, and a whole load of things that we're yet to discover and we haven't even put names on. Also, there are all the usual challenges and risks associated with adopting vendor, cloud, SaaS-based technology. So yeah, there's a lot of opportunity and a lot of challenges.
I, again, certainly have seen this in the conversations last year as sort of the Gen AI revolution sort of was coming into the industry. And so that led us to create the AI Readiness SIG.
Yeah, so I know being technology, it would have been probably the fun route would have been to build our own technology. But to be honest, the practical route was to discuss with the industry what the challenges they are experiencing are and tackle them head on. And as you saw from the survey, governance was a big problem. And taking a step back, it was the challenge of adoption. Most of the organizations that I spoke to and we spoke to simply couldn't get the technology into the hands of the technologists and the business folks. And it was a lack of governance framework that was getting in the way. And open source is an obvious way of tackling this challenge. You've got the mutualization of efforts, but also with a single framework, you've got a venue where you can bring together both the FSI organizations, but the regulators and the vendors to work together in a single place.
That's amazing. It really started to become clear how it's not just about the code, but it's really about bringing together different constituencies. And so I guess we have a pretty exciting announcement today.
Yeah, so we have just released the first version of our governance framework, and this was quite an epic undertaking. 34 different risks and mitigations. I did a word count, 33,000 words. That's an amazing effort. We also have mappings to 8 different other frameworks, OWASP, EU AI Act, NIST. As I said, an incredible effort. But we're not stopping there. Going forwards, we want to start addressing the challenges with agentic AI, which when we started a year ago was barely even spoken about. We also want to ease adoption by creating reference implementations and collaboration with CCC.
Wow. Colin, thank you. Can we give him a big round of applause? You have done a fantastic job at corralling all these folks out there. So thank you so much.
No problem.
So what should people do to get involved?
Yeah, I'm winning the QR code game. So firstly, join me here, 12:20. I'm going to be giving a talk about the broad adoption challenges and also taking a step back and talking about why technology transformation is just hard. Secondly, contribute, join the AI governance framework meetings. Being open source, this isn't just about contributing code or writing words, it's about sharing your opinions and thoughts. And finally, adopt, don't reinvent.
Thank you, Colin. I really appreciate your help. Thank you. So today we are talking about CCC and AI together. So you've been a great supporter since the very beginning with BMO of CCC. Tell us why this matters.
This really matters, and it matters for a million reasons, but really the main thing to walk away with is that the software landscape has just become so increasingly complex. AI is just the latest cool thing that we're all talking about. Really what's going on is the vulnerabilities are increasing exponentially. I feel like I spend a third of my budget remediating vulnerabilities. I don't know about anybody else out there. Attackers.
It's like Greg.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Attackers are just getting more and more sophisticated. They know more about us than we do.
Yeah.
And, you know, really the software services are becoming and have always been more crucial, but they're more crucial than ever.
Yeah.
So we've really got to get the cost of critical security, you know, like neutralized somehow. It's always rising, and it's causing individual firms, you know, to have to address this instead of staying competitive. So we've got to come up with a way to work through it.
And so, like we deliver common cloud controls, we are announcing today some exciting collaboration on the AI governance framework. Tell us more about it. What is this?
Well, we are, because if you think about the evolution that we had to do to get here, right? You can't do AI without your data.
Yep.
And your data, you know, we've all been working on our journey to the cloud or to hybrid. And so with that, you know, it's really all about bringing common cloud controls and AI together. So what we're trying to do is deliver technology neutral, you know, baseline standards for AI using cloud and hybrid environments, peer-reviewed governance frameworks, regulation as code, and a trusted scalable framework that reduces duplication and accelerates safe AI and adoption. So basically enables you to deliver to your business every single day.
That is amazing. If you guys are interested to learn more, we just put out a press release supported by all those folks behind it. Again, a really amazing combination of financial institutions and vendors that is going to bring the AI governance framework into common cloud controls and being able to have these machine-readable controls that hopefully we can, again, test against and conform against.
Exactly.
You've been a major supporter on both sides, so thank you, Kim. I will do a quick call to action, and you stay with me, and then we can finish this section together. Well, you'll hear more from Kim later today, but if you are interested to learn more about the CCC for AI, a little bit of a mouthful, but you know, we're developers, we're not marketing people. So we have two great talks today. On taming multi-cloud security, earlier in the, actually in the 12:35, and then we have Andrew Martin from Control Plane, who was calling out before, who has been an amazing supporter of and really active contributor to the Common Cloud Controls and AI governance frameworks, giving us a deeper dive on what it means to use the AI readiness and governance framework. We also have demos, we have project booths, you can join the calls on an ongoing basis. So this is an area where we see a lot of potential, and we hope that you're able to join us in the journey.
And get involved. This is the hottest thing, right? And you don't want to be left out. Just saying.
Thank you, Kim. Right. Thank you so much.
See you later.
So, as usual, I'm going long, but nobody was expecting me to be on time, other than you, everyone. So, let's switch gears. We talked about tech regulation. The other side of the coin is really business-aligned regulation, the CDM, the common domain model. If you're not familiar with it, you will definitely get familiar with it today. We have a whole track dedicated to it. Has seen major adoption over the last year, especially in the digital regular reporting side of the house. You see, you know, announcement from JP Morgan, from the Japanese Stock Exchange, from ISDA, from DTCC. This is one of the projects that really has proven itself to be, you know, very valuable. You know, to really bring, it's one of the open source projects, I think, open standards that is much more directly connected to the business side. And, you know, talking back to the ROI, it's something that you can, you know, go back to your business life, to your compliance department with something very tangible. It's not an obscure technical component somewhere in the stack. Those of you who've been here for a while might remember this slide from a few years ago as the vision for, you know, Open RegTech. The traditional model is very siloed. Everyone builds its own regulations, which then get independently enforced. It's error-prone. It's costly for firms and for regulators. What the CDM and increasingly other projects are enabling is the idea of collaborating on regulatory implementation and ultimately providing also, you know, unprecedented visibility and confidence to regulators, again, both on the tech risk and on the business aligned regulation side, with the ability, honestly, to review, test, influence, if they feel comfortable with it, you know, open source regulatory implementations. And again, I used to joke and say, hopefully before my grandkids grow old, they might start collaborating with some of these projects. But we're seeing actually this very much accelerating, and I think this is also driven by projects like the CDM that are very, very, they're coming from the business side of the world. They're coming from trade associations who worked with regulators for the last few decades. But it's not just the CDM, but what other projects we're seeing aligned to sort of this concept of open, business-aligned regulation? Well, those of you who were here last year might remember we announced OS Climate as a sub-project in FINOS. OS Climate provides open source tools and data for climate and sustainability aligned investing. And really, one of the most attractive projects in that is around managing physical risk. Not only manage, not only measure, but we're seeing projects now looking to build tools to transfer this physical risk. This is, again, very much aligned with the business side here, more than only just tech. Why does this matter? Well, because fundamentally, climate challenge is a tech challenge. And it's something that cannot be solved easily, as much as compute or data you have, in a silo. So we're building the plumbing, the data models, the pipelines, the regulatory-grade tooling to comply with increasing regulation around climate and sustainability, but also to be able to measure risk and create a new market around that. So we have seen enough prototypes. Our call to actions here is to get this into adoption. The two main projects in OS Climate are the Data Commons and the Physical Risk and Resilience projects. I would really encourage you to take a look. But before we jump into it, talking about regulators engaging more with our community, I want to bring on stage Patrick de Cambour. Is the chair of the IFRAG Sustainability Reporting Board. I'm very thankful to have you here to talk about open collaboration.